Hey, hello everyone and welcome in a new video. In this video we will discover how to install ETCD in different ways. So the first ways will be just a single node but with Docker, and the second one will be a cluster but with Docker Compose. So this is not ready, production ready. And finally, in the third step, we will discover how to install ETCD directly on a host and in three modes, so with three servers, and you can see and you will see that's really easy to do it. Just to download binaries, install systemd and some environment variable, and at the end we will have our ETCD cluster. So let's go. So we have for that three virtual server. You can find in the link that you have inside the video, you have the link about this repository, DevOps Land, and you can go inside the ETCD directory and you have the Vagrant directory dedicated to provision some Vagrant virtual server. So in our case, this is our Debian 12, I think, yes. And we can just have a look. We have a little Vagrant file inside the directory with 4 servers. So here ETCD 110, 111, and 112. The other one is just a server, an external server for later, and some dedicated, of course, IP, just one CPU, and 512 megabyte, so it's a really little server. And we have on all server Docker, but this is only for the first install with the Docker and the Docker Compose. So let's go. I already pushed the Vagrant up before, and now we can use Vagrant SSH, and we can go on ETCD 110 to begin. So let's go, and I can use Docker. Yes, it's okay. And aside of it, I have my nodes, my not private nodes but open source nodes, and you can find it inside the video description also, but in the directory the second directory dedicated for the installation. Okay, so the first thing is just to run an ETCD server, but a standalone server, one instance. We need to expose the client port and the peer port, but it's not really used because we have only one server, but the peer port is dedicated when we have a cluster for the communication between each node inside the cluster, not the client side. And aside of it, we need to set that we don't want to use authentication, so we set allow non-authentication to yes, and we need also to define our advertised client by default based on the name of our container, like here, and we use the bitnami image, Docker image, ETCD in the latest version. So we can just run it. Of course, the Docker image is just a pool. Okay, and after that we can use Docker exec to go inside the container to exec an ETCD CTL. So this is a client binary dedicated to manage a cluster and to push or get some data inside it. And for example, the first thing that we can need to do is just to check if we have a cluster with one server inside it, inside the member list. And you can see that we set -- endpoint to specify that we want to target a specific cluster on the local host. So this is inside our cluster, inside our container, and normally it will work. So let's go, we can test. Of course, we have one container, and when I test it, The member list just return us the ID of this instance, started instance, so default mod, and we can see that for the peer, but we don't use it, the peer port and the peer endpoint is just on the localhost on the dedicated port, and for the client side we have an ETCD server on the client port too. So okay, after that what can I do? I can put some data inside it with the put option, and with this option we can put, for example, /message. So this is the key that we have in our key value database. You can remove the slash, but it's really usual to use slash, because you can, for example, store some configurations that you want to push on many servers, and for example you can use the key just to set where you want to push your value. For example, you can set a message with conf.json like that, or stuff like that. So in this case we have /message, and we want to push some data inside this key, and I can say hello. Okay, and now I want to just show the data that we have inside this key, so we can use /message like that, and we have the value hello, so it works. Okay, so now we can remove the previous container, so we can remove it like that with rm-f and etcd server, so this is the name about our container, and now we can use docker compose.yml like that, and we can set a global here, like here, a global file with some, of course, some specifications inside it. So we want to use a 3.8 version about Docker Compose, but this is not mandatory in the latest version about Docker Compose, if I remember well. And aside of it, we have the list about all of our services. We have a first service named etcd1, the second one is etcd2, the third one is etcd3. Okay, aside of it we create a network, etcd.-net, and this is a new bridge, and that allows us to create each service inside this dedicated network, etcd-net, and that means that we can use the DNS etcd3 to join the etcd3 instance, etcd2 to join the etcd2 instance, like a DNS, and etcd1 as well. Okay, so for each instance we set the image that we want to use, so this is our Bitnami image. The name about the container, this is not mandatory, but you can set it like that with etcd1, and after that some environment variables. So the first one, of course, like previously, allow none authentication set to yes. We set the etcd name that we can we will see in the member list. For etcd1 that will be etcd1, where we want to store inside the container the data dir where we want to push the data. Of course, this is a volume mount, like we can see here. etcd data is mounted in the volume name etcd1 on the host, on the external host. So you can see here we have 3 volumes: etcd1 dash data, etcd2 dash data, etcd3 dash data 2. Okay, and after that we set the listen peer URL, so this is for all interface and on the port 2380, and we have the same thing for the client URL, so this is like here all interface and the 2379, and after that we have the peer URL that we want to advertise to other servers or client. For the peer, this is for other servers, so our other instances, and we set like here HTTP, not HTTPS, but HTTP, and ETCD1 and the dedicated port for the peer port. And the same thing for the client side. Okay. After that, we want to set our cluster and each member that we have inside the cluster. So the first one is ETCD1 equal to the peer port, really take care about it, and the name about our port. So this is what we have inside the initial advertised peer URLs. The same thing for ETCD2, but take care about the name, of course, and the DNS that we want to use, and the same thing for ETCD3. We want to set a cluster token, just to be sure that all instances that we want to join need to use the token to be sure for the security that this instance is allows to join the cluster. And after that, really important, when you initialize a cluster, you need to set the initial cluster state to new. You can set it to existing, but only when you already have a cluster and you want to join a cluster, or just when you have when you are inside the restoration process, you need to do that. Of course, for ETCD1, we need to set the volumes. So we need to use the volume named etcd1-data, and we want to mount it inside the container on /etcd data. And of course, this is the same directory that we want to use for etcd data dir. We add the networks, and we do that for all other instances like etcd2. Here, of course, we need to change etcd2 where we have etcd1 previously. We do the same thing for etcd3, and normally it's okay. So now we can directly use docker compose up-d, and we already have pulled the bitnami image, and normally we have a cluster. Okay. How to check that? Exactly like previously, we can run docker compose member list. Where is our member list? Here. But we need to exec not on the previous name, but on etcd1 like that. And if we run that, of course, we have three members, etcd1, 2, and 3 with one ID for each server, so it's okay. We push again our /message key, for example, message, and we set it to hello. And to test it, what I can do, I can, for example, switch and not to run the get on the etcd1, but on etcd3 to check that our cluster replicate the data. Replicate the data, and to do that, we can just put get /message like that, and we have our hello. So it's okay, it works. And now we can remove, of course, our docker compose like that, docker compose down, and we can switch with the basical installation without Docker and on our 3 servers. So to do that, I need to keep the etcd 110, and I can just connect on etcd 111 and also on etcd 112. Okay. Oh, one etcd, where I am. Oh yeah, too many things here. Okay, so to do that, I can go directly as root to be quick. Okay, and let's go. So the first thing that we want to do on all servers, we need to set some variable. So the etcd version that we want to download, where we want to put the etcd binaries, because we have 3 binaries. The first one is etcd for the etcd server, etcd-ctl for the client to manage a cluster, and etcd util to also to manage a cluster. So the other thing is where we want to store the data. So this is the etcd data here. Where we want to store the configuration, so we want to set it inside some environment variable in /etc/default/etcd. And where we want to have our systemd service. So of course it's in /etc/systemd/system and /etcd.service, and the cluster state, like I said, we need to set it to new. Okay, so we put that on all server. We can parallelize, but I prefer to do that like that. Okay, and after that we need to set some other variable. The first one is to get the host IP, and 3 other lines just to be sure that we want to set some IP dedicated for etcd 110. So I need to change it 110 here, just here 110, just to get the IP, 111 and 112. Okay, it's okay here, just to set the IP, and after that we can just run and set a dedicated variable for our cluster to have all and concatenate all the value in the same line. So I can go on that and run it on all servers again. And now with that we have all our variables, and we can try to install the and to download first the etcd binaries. So to do that, wget just to download the etcd tar.gz and the tar extraction here, the move to our local USR bin, and change it to be executable. And we want to create the data directory and add some permissions on it. Okay, so let's go. So it's ongoing here too, and the same. Okay, after that, what we want to do, we want to set our /etc/default/etcd, sorry, and that's what I do here. And just I replace, for example, here the host name, and I reuse some variables that we already set before, like that. So let's go, and let's go. So we can check one of these server on /etc/default/etcd. We have, for example, the name here, the IP, so it's okay. Oh, we have here a little issue with etcd 110, and why I can adapt it here. 110, it's just like here. Okay, so I can edit it quickly, I think, just this one. Ah, we have the same thing for for all. I don't change this. Okay, so I can change it quickly. etcd and 111 and 12. Okay, so now I can just do it again. So it's quick. I can copy this one, okay, and run it again here, and here. Okay, and now we can just run again the etcd/default/etcd file. settings. Okay, here again and here as well. Okay, so now if I cut again the file, I think it's better. Yes, we have here the IP, so it's okay, and the good name, really important to have the good name here, so it's okay for all. Okay, we have the cluster token and the state set to new. Okay, we need now to create the systemd service dedicated to ETCD, and to do that, we just need to set the user. We want to be root, the type about this service is exec, and we, of course, we want to use the previous settings, and to do that, we specify the environment file dedicated and set to /etc/default/etcd, and we want to run our etcd binary, and with that, normally it's okay. So we put it like that. Okay, okay, and okay. So we can have a look on /etc systemd system and /etcd, and normally, yes, all it's okay. And now what we can do, we can just, to be sure, run a systemctl daemon reload, but normally it's not really useful here because we don't change, but we create a new systemd service. We don't change the value because the service doesn't exist before, and we can enable, to be sure, if we restart the server, that the etcd will be restart too, and we can start it for sure. So now we can run directly and without set the endpoint, because we are on the localhost, and the endpoint by default in etcd-ctl will be -- endpoint and set to our localhost directly. Okay, so we can just run member list like that, and we have 3 members, so it's okay. I can put again some value inside it. So our message again, we can set it to hello. I can go on another server, for example the 112 and etcd-ctl. We can run member list as well, so it's okay, but we can check if our data is replicated, and to do that we can use the get option and get on message like that, so it's okay. Good. That's it for today. I hope that this video can help you, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss the next one. And if you want to support me, like and comment this video. This is really, really important, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.